Hi, and welcome to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I'm your host, Eric Knowles. But before we get started, a word from one of our supporters.
At Convey, we're not only dedicated to solving today's biggest challenges facing healthcare organizations, we're also committed to predicting and planning for tomorrow's challenges by uniting a family of companies. We combine powerful technology with robust data analytics to deliver integrated end-to-end solutions that achieve meaningful results. Start your journey towards transformative business performance with Convey.
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. Yeah, you know the deal. I'm excited. You know, when you see people building their dream, entrepreneurs, that's not a word to be taken lightly. A lot of people want to start their own business, but everybody don't have what it takes. And I'm here with a gentleman that has what it takes, Mr. Felton Brown. How are you, brother?
Hey, brother, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Alpha International Transportation.
Yes, sir.
So, what Felton Brown? Tell folks who is Felton Brown before we get started about this entrepreneurship and this whole um, move into being an entrepreneur.
Well, first and foremost, Felton Brown is a strongly spiritual God, man. I give all praise and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh in heaven. And I'm a family man, a loving husband, and a great father. And I'm a community activist for my community, the great city of Opelika.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've come to get to know one another, and you definitely are engaged with the community. I want to thank you for everything that you do. But being an entrepreneur, what made you decide? A lot of folks, they get up, they go get a job. But what made you decide that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and then get into transportation business?
Entrepreneur for me came naturally. My parents tell me that when I was born down in Homestead at James Archer Hospital, that after they gave me back to the Lord, that they spoken to me that I would be a successful entrepreneur. So I grew up through life doing some of the things that many kids in the inner city did, playing sports, getting involved in music, all the things that kids go through in inner city. I went through that. And then I faced a tragic injury when I was in high school. I broke my neck playing football, and they told me I wouldn't move or feel anything from the neck down. So at that point, I had to figure out how I was going to, support myself and the family that I desired. So what I did was I realized that my body would no longer serve me to create those opportunities, that I had to use my mind. So entrepreneurship was the next thing that I knew that I can do and thrive at once I was able to, get my body back to a point where I can get some things done. So I went on to college, man, and got a degree in business. I went over to Fort Memorial University for about a year, and then I transferred to University of Phoenix only because of the disability aspect of being able to do online schooling, right?
Right.
So when I was at Fort Memorial, a lot of miracle things happened. People would go to school with me, strangers, and help me write my coursework. I couldn't move or do anything at this point in my life.
Wow.
So angels was just coming around me and supporting me on my journey to be successful. So eventually I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Phoenix. I went on to Full Sail University and pursued a master's degree in business, and we accomplished that.
Okay, I didn't
Yes,
realize
sir.
you had a master's. Okay.
Yeah, man. So we just keep going and we keep growing and just trying to expand, man, to inspire our community and better our community.
Wow, that is inspiration, man. Because so many, like you said, you had the tragic accident playing football, and so many of us who are abled don't have that what it takes in here.
Yeah.
And that's when we talk about being an entrepreneur, you have to have something in here that other people don't have.
Oh, yeah.
Because the one thing I say about entrepreneurship is it's like the lion out there in the wild or any wild animal. You got to get out there and hunt because otherwise you're not eating. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you got to hunt, man. And that's probably the biggest challenge that those that start out to in entrepreneurship in the business world. It's it's a hustle to a degree, but then it's kind of like you got to almost adopt it as a livelihood, right? Like you have to live.
Well, it's straight
breathe.
up hustle. Now.
Yeah,
You know, when
yeah,
it comes
it
to
is.
it's a hustle. You
It
got
is.
to
It
get out
is.
there and
It
hustle
is.
in
It's
terms
a
of
hustle, man. That you can't, like there's no rest about it. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to transportation and the role that we play in supply chain. It's about going out there, being up 4 o'clock in the morning before everyone, up with the birds and hunting for shippers and distributors and retailers that need our services. So,
right.
yeah.
And talk about that. You know, we just obviously we just had our symposium
Yeah.
our symposium and business leaders lunch, and the focus was logistics and supply chain. Talk about your business model. As you said, you had to get up at 4:30 before everybody else because those trucks are on the road delivering before people get to their destination of whether they're going shopping or whatever it is, that whatever business they're going to, because supply chain logistics deals with pretty much everything. Whether you taking a trip to the hospital, the items that the hospital needs have to get there, so on and so forth. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so at Alpha International Transport, we're a 3PL freight brokerage firm, which means that we're the middleman between the shippers and the carriers to have products delivered to their endpoint. So what we typically do is get up first thing in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm setting up my desk, I'm setting up my workspace, and I'm getting on the line and I'm cold calling. We're cold calling shippers and we're cold calling distributors and retailers to see what freight they have that needs to be moved in our region. And then we contract with our carriers, right? We get our carriers. And right now it's an interesting space because the world is all about net zero, right?
Mhm.
It's all about helping the climate and the environment. So now we are branching off into the space of dealing with carriers that are electric, right? And are
Okay.
hydrogen ran, so that we can also be a part of protecting our community. But for the most part, our day consists of on the lines, on the internet, reaching out to retailers, reaching out to distributors and those that have cargo.
Okay. Now, I know since the pandemic hit, there have been a lot of challenges with everything, with supply chain, period, logistics, getting so the world pretty much gets, I don't know what the percentage is of goods from China. So getting goods over here, I know 60, 90 days, 6 months behind. But even outside of that, drivers, I know that has been a challenging
Yes, it
thing.
has.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so right now, because of inflation, right, because of the pandemic and inflation and the Fed interest rates, these operators and these trucking companies aren't able to survive this environment. So it's been extremely difficult finding carriers that can move cargo at the rates that shippers are willing to pay today. So we're getting real creative with our partners, with our carrier partners, and with our shipping partners, and we're having conversations, real conversations that are saying, hey, these are essential needs that the world needs, and we need to get pricing on point, and we need to strategize with our shippers and with our carriers to make sure that each party is able to operate, in order for us to get our jobs done.
Yeah, and again, I know that this whole thing with, and I'm going back to the drivers, because obviously nothing's moving without drivers.
Nothing's moving.
And a lot of folks, they're just not finding them. But before we get into that, we're going to be taking a little break. You've been in business how long now?
2 years now.
2 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, we're going to take a little break. But before we get there, I want you to think about, again, what made you decide on doing this business versus another business.
Mhm.
But before we go there, have a break, hear from one of our supporters, and we'll be right back.
At Convey, we're not only dedicated to solving today's biggest challenges facing healthcare organizations, we're also committed to predicting and planning for tomorrow's challenges by uniting a family of companies. We combine powerful technology with robust data analytics to deliver integrated end-to-end solutions that achieve meaningful results. Start your journey towards transformative business performance with Convey.
And welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. And I'm here with Felton Brown, owner of Alpha
International Insurance.
Alpha International. I got a couple members who have that name, Alpha.
Yeah.
Can cross up. Yeah. Thinking of Gary Harris and, and Alpha One Staffing, Alpha International.
Yeah.
We were talking about the challenges we have with drivers.
Right.
What made you decide that transportation was the right thing for you to do?
You know what, man? As an entrepreneur, you don't get it right the first time, right?
Right.
So I went through a few different industries.
Okay.
Just trying to figure out what works and, what works for me in my situation being disabled. And so I went through a few different industries and eventually, after doing my research, market research, just finding out what's lucrative, right? What's needed and what isn't going anywhere is probably the most important decision point that I made when getting into transportation and supply chain logistics. So here in Florida, it was a no-brainer, right?
Okay.
After doing the research, we're a peninsula, we're pretty much an island, and we have every mode there is when it comes to transportation and moving freight around.
Yeah.
So we have the number one airport in Miami International, moving freight, and then we have the Port Miami that is not only just cargo but also cruise line. And then we also have rail.
Right.
So I saw the opportunity there where if I leveraged it properly, that I can be profitable and successful in it. So, and then I'm right here in Opa-locka, so we're an industrial city,
right,
that moves freight, throughout the city daily. And then we have Opa-locka Airport that's moving cargo there as well. So it was a no-brainer for me to get involved in with the players and understand what the industry is and learn as much as I can and be mentored by some of the greats in the industry and find my success there.
Okay. And what would you say is one of the biggest challenges in the industry? Obviously, what you have started, this business, being an entrepreneur and dealing with logistics, it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get I don't know whether to say it's excited, but it blows me away when I see the trains going by with all those containers on it.
Yeah.
And when I see a truck and I see a double truck, in my mind, I'm like, God, you just think of whatever's inside there, and it's going somewhere to take care of, a community or whatever. It really, I don't know whether the word, like I said, the word is excites me, but I really look at it and it hits me. So, and you're dealing with that every. Tell me about that and that whole feeling of what you're doing. I mean, you're basically taking care of the world, taking care of a community.
And that's how I feel. I honestly feel like a servant, and this is important for me, right? To be of service to others and to be what we want to say, what the unsung hero, right? The one that no one sees, but getting the job done and is an important element to our day-to-day living. Myself, what sparked this idea also of Alpha International Transport was when the pandemic happened. I was one of those people that felt the effects of it on a major level because I rely on certain medical supplies to come in on time for me to have a certain quality of life.
Right.
And so when the pandemic happened, these medical supplies were no longer coming on time.
Wow.
If they came at all.
Okay.
So that sparked, in my brain that, hey, there's some help that's needed on the front end here in supply chain. And so that's when I came in with the idea with my partner of freight brokering and making sure that these essential things are being shipped out on time and to where they need to be.
Right. But again, like I said, I'm sitting at a railroad and I'm watching all these cargo containers go by
Yeah.
and the port. Like you said, we have one of the busiest ports. We got as far as international, our airport, Miami International, has the largest importer of medical supplies from South America and the Caribbean and flowers. Do you deal with any of the perishables at all?
Perishables is actually our key commodity to move here in South Florida.
Can you explain to people what that is?
Yeah. So, and before I do that, let me go a little bit, a little bit more as far as so when it comes to cargo and moving commodities like this, it's plentiful, right? So when we're first getting in, obviously we're looking to move pretty much whatever we can, right? Whatever comes through the doors, we're looking to move it. So that's probably the beginning challenge. But then you want to go into finding what your niche is.
Okay.
So here in South Florida, like you said, Latin America and the Caribbeans are bringing in perishables by the boatload, right? I mean, we're talking about flowers, mangoes, apples, bananas, whatever you may have, they're bringing them in. So we're seeing that opportunity here in South Florida for us to take advantage of. So that is indeed our angle is perishable. So we're talking about cold storage, right?
Okay.
Understanding the warehouse space and how these goods need to be transported and protected for the customer and the whole 9 yards.
Okay. And you talk about cold storage. Explain that a little bit to folks who may not understand. So because again, you got to protect the goods.
Right. So these goods that are coming over and I mean, we're talking 48,000 pounds, every shipment in a truck. So these shipments need to be kept at a controlled temperature. Okay. So that's what cold storage comes in at. So we may need these temperatures to be at a continuous 34 degrees. We got to make sure that this is what, that temperature is so that these goods don't spoil.
Right.
Because once they spoil, unlike, electronics that may fall down and may get a scratch, we can still sell it. We can't sell spoiled goods when it comes to perishables.
Right. Again, starting a logistics company, do you own trucks or do you contract with truckers?
So we're a non-asset freight brokerage firm. So we don't own anything.
Okay.
And we believe that's our advantage, is that we don't own anything. So we keep a low overhead and we're able to provide our customers the best option because there's no bias on our end, right? Like we're not trying to move their goods with our trucks only. So we're contracting the best carrier. We're doing a vetting process for our customers to make sure that the carriers that we do use to transport their goods are the best that are available in that moment.
Obviously, we're the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, focusing on Black business, minorities, and women. Do you have a sense of how many Black-owned companies there are like you?
When you say harmony,
a sense of how many Black-owned companies are in logistics?
Oh yeah, man, we're very prideful about that. As a matter of fact, the mayor of Opelika, Mr. John Taylor, had just told us a few days ago that we were actually the first Black-owned logistics company in Opelika.
Okay.
So we took a great pride in that, and we take a great pride in understanding that we need to expand our brand, expand our company so that more Black and brown boys and girls can understand the opportunity that's in supply chain and logistics and show them that it's an opportunity that you can achieve. And yeah.
And so what would you tell someone who is interested in getting into supply chain or logistics?
Go for it. Stop thinking and jump. Go for it. Stop thinking and jump. The opportunity is there. You'll learn as you go. Obviously, you should, get vested, in the industry by learning as much as you can on your own. But to just get in somewhere, take a job somewhere to understand what logistics is about, what supply chain is about, and then just go from there. But the opportunity is there for all of us here in South Florida. And I would love to see South Florida to get more involved in supply chain.
So if someone wants to get in touch with Alpha, international, how can they do that?
Oh, LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, Felton Brown. Our company's on LinkedIn, Alpha International Transport, and our website, aitransport.us.
Okay. Well, this has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. If you want to know more about the Chamber, go to 305-751-8648 or go to m-dcc.org and find out more. And to become a member of the Chamber, just check our member page. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, Felton. Today, I stand before you, a proud graduate of Miami-Dade College and the 5th president of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm honored to return to the college that prepared me to become a leader in our community, providing an education second to none. So I'm asking you to please tune in every Monday at 12 noon to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce's Member Connection, as I interview members of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce on our Facebook page at Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce or our YouTube channel, Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. To learn more about the Chamber, please go to m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648.